They were doing about $100 million at that time. And the premium was $2.1 million, 2% of their gross sale. That's a huge, huge chunk of money. But I came up with a good incentive program. We cut down on the workers' comp claims. We got $1.4 million back from that policy.
We love the San Gabriel Valley. There are some amazing businesses and people here, and we think they deserve the spotlight. Welcome to the SGV Master Key Podcast. We'll have on the people behind the businesses in the SGV. We'll find out what makes them tick, their ups and downs, their history, and we're going to have fun doing it. This is the SGV Master Key Podcast. And now your hosts, Scott Warmoth and Russell Mano.
All right, SGVers, welcome back to another episode of the SGV Master Key Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. If you're a regular listener, welcome back to another show. If you're new to this, we document and share the stories of the people of the San Gabriel Valley. So if that's something that you like, stay tuned, subscribe, and we hope to bring you a great episode today. Scott, actually, when Victoria and I were talking about the intro, we're like, should we say our names? Do I introduce you? Do I say Scott? And I think I do in the show.
You did just now.
Yeah. So they would know who I'm speaking to. Yeah.
You're right. But I'll bet you sometimes it gets lost, and then, the listener just has to identify our voice.
And then I don't think you ever really say Russell, but I often say Scott. I often start by saying Scott.
Okay.
I think so.
I need to get a little more personal.
Oh no, it's okay. It's okay. We're just trying to figure out if it's a natural thing that flows in the show when we're trying to figure out the intro or the new intro. But one of the recurring themes or important special places in the San Gabriel Valley that have been brought up, not just in the SGV3, but just as a part of our show, has been Old Pasadena.
Yeah, Old Pasadena is really a major, significant, as you said, location. I mean, Pasadena is the crown of the San Gabriel Valley, the crown jewel, right? And then probably Old Pasadena is, certainly one of the most significant and identifiable areas, although Pasadena has a lot of identifiable places,
Sure. And we've had Terry Tornick on the show, who is, really instrumental in revitalizing that area. We recently had Robert Simon, owner of Bistro 45, on the show, and he mentioned that in the 70s that area was crime-ridden, like it was dangerous to walk through, and there was no plan really to bring that area back up. I don't know if you remember that, but I
do remember that, and that dovetails with the time period I moved to Pasadena, which was, I moved to Pasadena in 94, I guess. But even at that point, Old Pasadena had not really started its complete change to where it is today. But we have an expert today who's going to help guide us through the changes that have happened over the years in Old Pasadena.
Sure. I mean, he must have seen a lot. He's experiencing them even now and today, right? Maybe the change over the last 5 years and 10 years, and certainly the last 2 to 3 years. He's an important figure in the San Gabriel Valley, certainly Old Pasadena. And another important figure or resource in the San Gabriel Valley is San Gabriel Valley Now, your source for city news, announcements, events, special savings, and everything SGV. Check them out on Instagram, sgv.now. Read their SGV Now magazine on their website, sgvnow.com. This guest was booked months ago, and we're excited to have him here today. His name is Jack Huang, and he is the owner of many familiar and recognizable businesses in Old Pasadena, but he's much more than that. I tried to condense, his bio into a few words, but I think that's more challenging. I'll try to let him explain exactly what he does. Jack, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah. So I mentioned that you own some businesses in Old Pasadena, but certainly you're much more than that. How would you refer to yourself and what you do?
Well, Old Pasadena, Old Town Pasadena has been a significant part of my life. I started my very first restaurant back in 94, I believe. after I finished working for Panda. I worked with Panda Management Company for 2 years and decided just to come out and do my own thing. And I stumbled across this storefront in Old Town that was available. Of course, I used to go visit Old Town, Old Pasadena, when I was dating, or later on when we were living in La Canada. But the opportunity to be on Colorado Boulevard is significant. So in any case, I started my very first restaurant. It's an Asian fusion. It's Chinese, Japanese, called Walk and Roll. I'm Chinese myself, so we picked a walk. And my ex-wife now, she's Japanese American. I always liked the sushi, so we did a Chinese food and a sushi combination. It was Walk and Roll. It was back in '94. And I also had a little history before that. It's when I went to UCLA back in the '70s, and UCLA started playing football at Rose Bowl, and we used to take the bus to the Rose Bowl. And people used to tell us, "Don't stop Old Town Pasadena. It's not your best area." It was almost very close to get completely demoed and build up modern high rises.
And that was in the 70s.
I believe it was late 70s, even early 80s, until a group of Pasadena citizens has the idea to revitalize and keep everything as Old Town, because all the buildings are very significant. They've been built since the late 80s, early 90s. It's kind of funny, when my first restaurant, Walk and Roll, I used to, after I opened, and I would come down to Alhambra to get cookware. And they were asking, what's your location? I say, in Old Town, Old Pasadena. Some of the merchants didn't quite understand why it's called Old Town. I said, well, the building is like from the late 1800s, early 90s. It's like 100 years old. But to Chinese, that's not very old. We're talking about thousands of years. That's old.
That's right, yeah. No, that's just a speck of time.
Yeah, so in any case, I started my first one in '94.
Where were you located? You said on Colorado. Where was
Colorado?
that?
It was 55 East Colorado, and I remember people calling in and asked, where are you? I gave them the address. They were still a little confused, and I had to tell them, I'm between the pawn shop and the pawn shop, and those are the two businesses that have always been there.
And they're still there.
They're still there.
Yeah. And you were right in between. What's there now?
The location I vacated out due to the end of the lease. Now it's occupied by Intelligentsia.
The
coffee
shop.
place. And the pawn shop is still there, and then the pawn shop is still there.
Those have been there longer than probably anything else. Maybe Russell's
35er. It's a
35er
considered a dive bar. And there's El Trio as a Mexican restaurant. I believe that's pretty old too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So since so now it's been 29 years for me. I think I stopped counting after 100 restaurants came and went.
Really?
So I think right now it's probably about 300 to 400.
How many restaurants do you think are in that area right
it's over
now?
100 something. I used to be on the Business Professional Association in the old Pasadena Management, on the board of that. So I do remember large and small full-service restaurants or small eateries, a lot more boba shops now, and gelato places. But you still have Alpha Nile, you got some really Piaci. My Italian restaurant, which I bought in 2000, Cerezo has been there even 10 years before me. Now, since me, it's been 22 years. So one of the senior
Yeah,
veteran.
definitely. You know. Yeah, I want to talk about some of those, but go ahead.
You also, was it Ex Tapa in Barcelona also?
Yeah. So from Walk and Roll, I went across the street took over this Italian restaurant called Cerezo. That was 2000. In 2004, I had the opportunity to sign a lease at the end of the west end of Colorado, at 168 West. That used to be Clearwater Seafood in the Old Town Bakery. So I combined those two pieces together and moved my Italian restaurant over. And we call it Villa Cerezo. Villa because it's such a big space, 12,000 square foot. We can do like 300-400 diners at the same time. It became one of the very successful supper house. And when I moved the Cerritos from 46 East to 168 West, 2-3 blocks away. I still have the lease at that location. So we came up with a new concept called Barcelona, a Spanish tapas concept. I'm proud the fact that I've always stayed in Old Town and have not gone to another city to open up a duplicate of one of the concepts. In a way, I'm kind of lazy. I like to have within walking distance instead of getting in the car and then drive somewhere. So that was 2004. We did Barcelona, Villa Cerritos. Then at the east end of Old Town, there used to be a Moses McGillicuddy's, Irish pub, and they did a concept change to Fred's Mexican Cafe. They ran it for about a year or so. Was not a financial success. So they approached me to see if I want. I guess they know I was expanding, so they asked me if I would be interested. I said, sure. I'm in Old Town, so I took over. I bought them out and signed a new lease, and that was around 2009. And interesting, around that time, I almost had the opportunity to do a deal to take over the management of Twin Palms. Twin Palms used to be the marquee place for people to go. It's 15,000 square foot. It's dinner, wedding, weekend club. Kevin Costner started that concept. And I guess after his divorce, his wife Cindy Costner took over. Then eventually the San Manuel Band of Indian bought that place. Oh. And they're kind of like absentee owner. So the business kind of declined to the point that they were going to close it. So I did talk to them and trying to entice them into a management deal. Just let me run the venue and pay me some kind of profit sharing and the management fee, because I know by that time I pretty much live, work, and sleep in Old Town, and I'm very familiar with the clientele and the banquet opportunities, which I did at Villa Cerritos. I know Twin Palms did a lot of weddings and special events. I think Hillary Clinton did a fundraising thing there, so it's a high-profile place. But they decided to just pull the plug and close the door and sit there vacant for many years.
Yeah, it's been vacant all that time.
Yes.
Is something planned for it now?
I do believe they were shut down for a good 3-4 years, and somebody went in, reopened Twin Palm for 1 year. It just didn't work. There were a lot more restriction since the heydays when you have the band, it's loud, and after this new operator reopened, they couldn't do the band after a certain hour because you have more residents living in the area. So Old Town, Old Pasadena changed significantly, as well as continue to change.
Seeing more residential right now.
A lot more residential, yes. So its design was created as a mixed use. You have a lot more south of Colorado, the condos, and north side of Raymond.
Yeah.
And I just moved into the Del Mar metro station.
Oh,
which is 2 blocks away, and 400 units.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
That's been there probably, 10 years maybe?
Well, I think since the Gold Line Metro started, I do believe that's about 2004-ish.
Oh, okay, long time.
Yeah.
Oh, so you live right in the community.
I also live in Westgate Apartments. That's just south of Twin Palms on DeLacy. So, I truly feel like I'm part of Old Town.
Right, yeah.
I live there and work there, and I participate too. I'm on the Old Pasadena Parking Meter Zone Commission. We review the meter revenue
I hate you because you just added 2 more hours. It was DeLacy. I used to be able to use the meter, and it stopped at 6.
Yeah, now it's
8.
8. Yeah. And weekend they extended to 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I felt I'm the only one who's all fighting against any kind of increases in hours or rates.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm more protective of the businesses. To attract more people.
Yeah.
It's not just the extension of the enforcement hours. the meter hours. I call it enforcement hours, which give them more opportunity to ticket our clientele. And nothing worse than come out to Old Pasadena, enjoying the night, and find yourself with a gift of a ticket.
Can you tell us some of the secrets and truths behind the scene? Like, for instance, if you let the meter run and let's say it's 7:45 and 8 o'clock, is there a good chance that there's going to be some meter person coming in that last 15 minutes?
It's so random.
Oh, it is? Okay.
And we do review the contract, the company who does, I think they call it intercom security. The city engaged them. So the city has its own parking enforcement staff, very minimum. So they contract the work out to intercom to do the additional ticket citation writing. It's a big money. There's a revenue sharing between the city, state, and it's a little convoluted.
Yeah. Okay. So there's no like easy way to beat it.
Well, the best way is to sign up with the app.
Oh, yeah.
Instead, my biggest complaint before has always been like you have to feed a meter with a pocket change that you have.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then you're taking a chance. But now with the technology, obviously, this app that you can sign up and you can download some value and you can pick from 5 minutes to 2 hours of time. And what's good about the app is if you choose to do 2 hours, then when your time's up, it will send you an alert. Then you can wait up another 2 hours without leaving your seat at the restaurant or shop.
Wow,
you don't have to run back to your car. So that's a added service to the community.
Well, as much as I would love to keep going into parking stuff, while we have you here, can we get more of your story, Jack? Like, were you born in this country?
First generation immigrant. I was born in Taiwan. My whole family came to the States in 1971.
How old were you then?
13.
13 years old.
Yes.
Okay.
I tell my friends that we all came here legally. So the moment we landed and we got our green card, which I so appreciate now, knowing the stories about some other people they come and they have to negotiate and they have to go through a lot of process to legalize. So we came as immigrants in 1971. Not too many Asian back then.
Sure. And did you land in Pasadena?
We landed in Hollywood.
Oh, okay.
Hollywood, where my sister and I, she's a year older than me, 14, and my brother was only 4 years old. So we stayed in Hollywood for about a year before we moved to Glendale. And from Glendale, and we moved to Agora. No, it's called Agora Hill. That's where I finished my high school, and then UCLA.
Wait, so what was that like coming here as a 13-year-old from another country and starting here at 13?
In a way, it was very exciting. Back in the days, I guess, to come out to America, or even now to come to America is a significant life change. And we came, none of us spoke hardly any English, and so I think one of the things is we didn't live, there weren't that many Chinese. The only Chinese you see in Chinatown, and they speak Cantonese. We don't speak Cantonese, we speak Mandarin Chinese. So they're just as foreign as as Hispanic, I guess, Then we live in Glendale, then Agora. So we were the only Asian family always. So we adapted much faster in that sense.
Wow. So you came here at the age of 13 and then managed to, integrate it into American life and then go to UCLA.
Yeah, very much so.
Wow.
I started washing pots and pans in this place called Calamigos Ranch. That's out in Agora. They used to do a Renaissance fair. I work at a steakhouse. I work in a gas station. Back in the days, the gas station, you had to check the oil, check the tire, wash the windshield. Yeah. So I did all that. We're all very independent because we really came out of my dad was a colonel in the Chiang Kai-shek's army. That's when they left China when the communists took over. So when he brought us here, he was a waiter at the restaurant. And it's a lot of sacrifice to bring us here.
Right. He went from general to a waiter.
Well, he's a colonel. I won't give him a promotion.
Colonel.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So how was that? I mean, you obviously were able to find success, and I mean, even getting to UCLA from that starting point would have been a challenge. What sort of helped establish that in you? And
I think just everybody's different. Just for my own personal experience, we didn't have much, and my parents were too busy running the restaurant or fighting, so they didn't have time for me. So I had to navigate my own way to figure it out. As a senior in high school, my parents didn't encourage me to go to college. When all my friends applying to colleges, and I go, okay, I'm good in math. Every Chinese kid is pretty good in math. So I picked engineering at UCLA, and I put in my application, and I got accepted. And the only reason I picked UCLA is because the basketball program.
I was going to ask that, yeah.
Bill Walton and John Wooden, and they'll score 100 points. I thought about USC too. I like the football program. But when I found out USC is a private school, it costs like $15,000. It was an easy choice for me to just go to UCLA for $700 a year in tuition.
Wow, that's a huge difference.
Yeah, huge.
Did you live on campus?
First year I drove from the Valley to Westwood campus. Like I said, I'd never been to the campus. When I got accepted, I had to go in and did some paperwork. I think I took the 101 to the 405 and got off on Sunset. I think I made the wrong turn. I almost ended up to Pacific Palisades instead of going left to the campus, which is like a mile away. So the first year was tough, driving, commuting. And at the time, I couldn't even get a parking permit. And they didn't have enough parking spaces. So I had a pickup truck with my motorcycle. So I'll find a place to park and roll my motorcycle down and go to campus.
Hold on. Your parents at that time allowed you to have a motorcycle, or is that
I was 18. I had a motorcycle since I was 15 and a half.
Even so, I mean, there's some Chinese parents that would not allow that in their 30s.
Well, I'm kind of lucky because, like I said, they were too busy fighting.
Oh, okay.
I went by under the radar. So in the second year, I hated the first year. It's just, you go to my chemistry class, it's like 500 kids in this big auditorium with 20 TV monitors. So the second year, I applied to the dorm, and I still remember my waiting list for the dorm. They only have 4 dorms at that time. I was like waiting list 3,000. And then somebody suggested a fraternity. I have no idea if I'm fraternity or sororities. It was a new concept to me. I could have walked down the sorority road and trying to rush the house. I had no idea. But they told me it's on Gailey. That's all the guys go. And I rush a few houses. They welcome in with open arms and hand me a beer. And I think I pledged the house the next day.
Were you the
4 years.
First Asian?
Just about. I have always been like the lone Asian. In Glendale, there's no Asian. In Agora, 600 kids. We're the only Asian family. And now I was in a white fraternity house, so it's pretty very white inside, I guess. That's how that's just the neighborhood I grew up with, and even the college life.
I've been waiting to see if you were going to say something about being discriminated against, or if that's been difficult, but you've not, and it seems like your mental attitude going in is just like, I'm going to do.
Well, the truth is, the very first week that we got here to Hollywood. Not even the first week, the second day, I went to a park and 2 white kids jumped on me and I was eating sand.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, but from that moment on, I said, I have to learn how to defend myself. So I took karate lesson in Glendale and I continue in Agora. I'm pretty good size compared to my age group. I'm 5'11", so I'm tall and look a little tougher. So in high school days, nobody wanted to pick on me. This is when the Kung Fu series came out. So everybody think I know Kung Fu. So
that's kind of your Russell's experience in the Army.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. One of 2 Asians in a platoon of like 250. And some of them, it was the first time they ever seen an Asian person face to face, and they really believed that I knew Kung Fu. Yeah,
of course.
But I didn't tell them that I didn't.
Of course.
I just let them think, whatever they want to think. But so what happens after UCLA?
Well, I was a class of 75. I tell people Sometimes they couldn't believe it. In the 70s. I said, yeah, John Wooden. And I had too much fun.
Well, you
at the frat
graduated
house.
early, though.
No, I graduated late. The 4 years of fraternity, I had too much fun. I can proudly to say that my UCLA GPA was 2.007. But I failed many classes. A lot of white kids would sit next to me, want to copy my homework until I start asking them for their homework. But I learned how to play foosball, backgammon, poker, make drinks, talk to girls. And plus, I actually, the only sports I was concentrating was volleyball. I played a lot in high school. We didn't have a school team. I played a lot of pickup game. But I play a lot of pickup game to the point that people were asking if I do play for any college team. And I say, oh, no, I am just a recreational player. So they encouraged me, where you go to school at UCLA. UCLA was the #1 team during those years. And they have kids with scholarships. And Al Skate, the coach, he won like maybe about 10, 15 NCAA volleyball titles. With some encouragement, I try to walk on and try out for the team. So I'm proud to say I did that one day.
Wow, and you made the team?
I did make the team.
Oh, but you tried.
They were all 6'4", 6'5", high school All-American, full scholarship.
Oh.
Here I am, like the third year junior now. I think I partied too much that whole week. I'm only 5'11", so there's no way I could have made it. But at least I said I tried out for it.
Sure. Wow. Okay. So you obviously enjoyed your time at UCLA. You had fun there.
It absolutely changed my personality. Asian, we're very reserved. We don't want to make a lot of fuss. We don't say too much. But those years really opened me up that I feel I fit in, I can participate, I can talk, I can make people laugh, have some jokes, and I can drink with the best of them.
So then did you pursue a career in engineering?
Yes, I did 10 years of aerospace.
Oh.
I talked myself into my very first company called Northrop Aircraft. They were doing F-20 Tiger Shark development. One of my jobs, my last year, I had full load, 20 units. Normally full load is 16 units, but I took one extra class. I just want to get out of school. That's my 5th year. I also worked at 3 different jobs. I was an engineer in at Lear Sigler, doing some drafting, and they were working on the F-18 program or F-16 program. I was also a hasher at the sorority house. Hasher is somebody you serve the food to the sorority girl. They're more formal. Our fraternity's food's horrible, but they have much better food. They don't pay you very well, but you can eat better. I was also a referee at the intramural volleyball team, so that was fun. So I get to just blow the whistle, and that was a good paying job too. So.
Oh.
Did you enjoy the 10 years being an engineer, or did you long for something else?
It's a love and hate. Northrop, I learned a lot. I didn't learn much from the school days because I wasn't there. But on job, I started learning. I learned how to do computer simulation, testing. I was fortunate that Northrop was developing this F-20 Tiger Shark, and I get to fly out to Air Force Base. We're just going to work into Hawthorne's facility, and we're going into a King Air twin prop and fly over the hill and then go down, and you're in the desert, and to do flight test support. That was the plane that the Northrop was developing and trying to market that to the allied countries like Taiwan, Korea, Singapore, Malaysia. It's not the most advanced fighter jet like the F-16, F-18, but some of the countries want to have their own air force, but the U.S. is not going to sell the most advanced.
So every day you would fly to Edwards, huh?
When the plane was ready for the final flight test, so that was fun. From making plastic model airplane about this big to seeing the real experimental planes. That's what they do at the Air Force Base. So that was very fun. And then I went to a company called TRW. TRW at that time, kind of secretive. Not too many people know what they do. Maybe back in the days, maybe TRW as like the credit profile. You can run your TRW. That means running your credit profile. But they also do a lot of Air Force defense work. And I signed up with them. thinking I was going to go to this one project, but put in my higher clearance level request. They never came back to tell me it was denied or whatever. They don't tell you the status. You apply. I have a secret clearance. It goes to confidential, secret, top secret, and extended. I guess at that time, the B-2 stealth bomber was being developed. I couldn't get my clearance because I'm not a native citizen. I'm a naturalized citizen. That have always made me realize that there's a limitation for me to be in aerospace. Because, I mean, the good project I would have loved to work on, but just because of the clearance thing. So I'm not, it's not accessible. So as much as then they put me on this other project. It's a computer simulation of the Peacekeeper ballistic missile with 10 nuclear warheads that we do the simulation first. Then we give a report to the Air Force colonels. Then 2 weeks later, some missile will fire off Santa Maria by Vandenberg Air Force Base. We'll leave Conrail and say, and they're shooting another weather satellite. We go, sure. So we do flight tests. Our section, we're in charge of the trajectory analysis that involves in the flight control program. I think that's all I can say.
Otherwise, they will come get you.
Well, it's all decommissioned. There are a lot of classified information, payload and range. Time.
Did you know that I have had a top secret clearance?
You had top secret.
Yeah.
And that's the second highest, right?
I didn't know all the levels.
Confidential and secret and top secret. And beyond top secret, they call it EBI, Extended Background Investigation.
So the packet was maybe 40 pages long, and they spoke to my parents, my friends, my friends' friends.
Yeah, of course.
And it was a long process.
Really?
Yeah. And I think it lasts only 10 years, though.
So you had it for 10 years.
I think so. Yeah, I think it expires after that. And I only needed to get it to participate in a Janus exercise. Janus is, I think, a double-headed Greek god. It was like you're fighting against yourself or something in Fort Lewis, Washington. And I was there for 3 weeks, and it was all high brass there, and you got to see how they do war games. It was pretty cool. Anyway, so when did you make this transition from engineer into entrepreneur?
So I did 10 years of aerospace, and toward the end, I actually got promoted to be the section manager. So on my resume, I can say engineer/manager for my last several years. At that time, I really wanted to get out. The more I realized, the more I worked in this very specialized ICBM trajectory analysis, I'm going to work myself into obsolete after a while. If they kill the program one day, who's going to hire you? You're so specialized. I think the only country that will hire me is North Korea and Iran, and I will never be able to come back. So I still speak, read, write Chinese. So I felt like I want to maybe do some import-export. Get out of aerospace. I was not that good a student to go back and get a master's degree or beyond. Matter of fact, when I got promoted to the section manager, my department manager pulled me in and said, Jack, section manager left. He went to the secret project. And they say, he told me, like, we'd like to promote you to be the section manager. Me, I only got a bachelor degree. We got this guy, he's got a master's degree. That guy's got a PhD. There was 15 people in my section. He goes, well, Jack, but you got people skill. The fraternity days paid off. So toward the end, I went out to my comfort zone, the circle, the aerospace people. I was told about this Asian networking group called Asian Business League. It's kind of like young yuppie, Asian yuppie-ish, professional, and they're supposed to have some kind of networking, but a lot of social too. So I went to that, and I met my future wife from that. And my story is I used her to get me out of aerospace because she went to UCLA also. She's a Japanese-American girl. And she worked for ARCO, was a director of paralegal services, and thinking about going back to law school. But then she decided to go back to business school at UCLA. And UCLA is like top 10, maybe just outside the top 10. And when she got her, so she went back to business school, And during the summer, between first year and second year, she got a great internship in investment bank, a boutique investment bank on Wall Street. So I went and visited her during that summertime. Then next year, she got a job offer right away from that firm as an investment banker. My story is we got married, and we got married here. She's from here also, Marshall High School, local. She's third, fourth generation. And we took off. We went to our honeymoon. We came back. We moved across the country to New York City. She's an investment banker. As I tell people, I'm the banker's husband. So that's how I got out of aerospace, to go to New York for 2 years and to get that East Coast, the big city lifestyle. So
What did you do in New York?
I tried to do import-export. I tried many things. Eventually, I made a couple of smaller deals. At that time, you were chasing Levi's, jeans, whatever.
Yeah.
We worked on many things. But eventually, I successfully exported some synthetic motor oil to Indonesia. After some trying time, I have no connection, no experience. But I guess I'm just a self-starter. I just want to do something with my life. So I did that. And 2 years later, we came back to LA.
And then to Panda?
Well, after we came back, my ex, Karen, she got another investment banking job. I decided to go back to aerospace, only just because we're buying the house in La Cañada, and we need 2 income to qualify for the loan. So I said, okay, let me go back to TRW. TRW, during that time, it was a massive layoff, aerospace, because the Russian Revolution happened. There's no more Soviet Union. Berlin Wall came down. It's massive layoff. But the 2 years I was gone, my department manager kept me on active payroll. So I came back, I got a stack of paychecks with zero pay. But because I was still active, my clearance was still active. While they were laying off a lot of people, there was one outfit in San Bernardino that was looking for somebody with my background on the smaller missile, Trident missile, 3 nuclear warheads. So I got a job doing that. I quit after 4 weeks. I collected two paycheck stubs, qualified for the loan. And during that time, I noticed Panda was growing. They will become nationwide in New York. When we lived in New York City, they were opening restaurants in New Jersey. Not in the city yet, New Jersey, Florida, because I would still read the Chinese newspaper. So I said, wow, this is a good-sized company. You never had a Chinese restaurant company to be like 20 units, 30, 40 units. So I thought, I'm going to throw my resume in there. And they hired me. They brought me in for an interview and then offered me a job in workers' comp, which I have no idea. But I took it.
Was that in South Pasadena?
Yes, the headquarters was in South Pasadena. So I went to there and we interviewed with them. Well, that was before South Pasadena. They were actually at a smaller place off Avenue 64. Then they moved to South Pasadena.
Aren't they now on Walnut Grove?
Yeah, I believe they moved again. They might move to Vegas. I heard some rumor.
Oh, yeah, I heard that he flies every day.
He became an investor to the Cosmopolitan. It's
the hotel.
Yeah, MGM bought that, but I also saw the Churn Family Trust.
So we're saying he like everybody knows. But
yeah. I know him. I worked with him for 2 years.
Andrew Churn.
Yes. I worked with him. They offered me a job as a manager of workers' comp. I say, why? I don't know anything of workers' comp. I don't speak Spanish. I go, well, you're manager at TRW. you graduated from UCLA. So I took it. I took that job. I learned. I guess nothing really scared me.
That was
whatever I don't know, I learned.
In the early 90s?
This is 92.
And how big was it at that time?
When I joined them, there were 50 restaurants. They have 7 Panda Inns. Those are full-service restaurants in Pasadena, Glendale, Santa Monica, San Diego, Horton Plaza, Ontario. But the trend is the fast food because it takes a lot more resources, capital to do Panda Inn. But the growth, we can all smell the growth is food court. Okay?
Yeah.
Because when we go to food court, McDonald's or Panda, they're number 1 or number 2 in terms of the sales and the line.
Yeah.
So that was a growth, and it's a lot less to build Panda Express. So altogether, there were 50 units. 2 years later, 150. So basically, they They opened up one per week during that accelerated growth. And I learned a lot from them. I learned everything about workers' comp. I helped manage their insurance programs. I learned a little more about the insurance. I traveled pretty much all over the country to do inspection training on the workers' comp safety and also food sanitation. So I did that for 2 years. I'm very proud of that. To see a Chinese restaurant company could be like the top image brand.
Yeah, I knew someone once who worked for them to scout new locations.
Sure.
And he was really impressed by the company as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I heard something that every restaurant, every Panda Express has like a Chinese or Cantonese manager there. They don't allow...
In the old days,
okay.
But there's no way you can grow to 1,500, 2,000. Nowadays, a lot of Hispanics, they're the workhorse in restaurant business.
They're everywhere.
Yeah.
Airport, university,
Vaughn's. They used to be inside some Vaughn's.
Oh yeah, Vaughn's, right?
Yeah,
they did a deal in the supermarket. Yes,
and that's like iconic too to San Gabriel Valley. People may not know that they started right here in Pasadena.
Yeah, the very first Panda Inn is on Foothill by Rosemead,
and they're remodeling. It's actually
correct.
There's only 2 or 3 walls still standing. Everything's leveled except for those walls.
Oh, is that right? On Foothill?
On Foothill, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When I first joined them, they just did a 20-year anniversary celebration because that's so new. Now I heard, they just knocked that down and doing something even bigger.
Yeah. Well, Jack, I want to continue with your story and your journey to, the things that you're involved with now. But let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Okay.
At Wormuth Law, they believe that just because you speak a foreign language, come from a different culture, or simply don't know how to navigate the legal system, that should not prevent you from compensation from injury or receiving benefits. Their multicultural staff have been helping SGVers like you for over 38 years. Visit law888.com or call them at 626-784-7017 and tell them you heard about them on this podcast.
All right, we're back with Jack Huang. Jack, before the break, you were telling us about your experience with Panda, and it sounds like it was a very positive thing for you in your life.
Yes, it was. I was so proud of that company to have a Chinese or Asian food brand that's always ranked on the top.
How do you like the food?
I was just going to ask that.
I always thought it was a restaurant quality express food.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Andrew Chern, the owner, founder, he's very, very meticulous about the quality and the cleanliness. Partially also, I think, because his influence when he spent many years in Japan, so he's fluent in Japanese as well. And being Chinese, I gone to many Chinese restaurants with those fast food places, a lot of China Express, Dragon Express. None of them can compete with the branding, the cleanliness, the quality, the presentation of Panda. So he really took it to the next level, and I'm grateful for that. I spent 2 years working with them and gave me my own confidence to go on and do my own thing after 2 years.
So is that what you did? Is after Panda you started your restaurants?
Yeah. Actually, if okay, we'll discuss this a little bit. Much as I love Panda, I really want to be part of it. I felt like I could be upper management with them. I felt I contributed from my workers' comp experience. It was my responsibility to go out and to get a new policy, and they were doing about $100 million at that time, and the policy, the premium was $2.1 million, 2% of their gross sale. That's a huge chunk of money. But I came up with a good incentive program. We cut down on the workers' comp claims. We got $1.4 million back from that policy, and I felt I contributed. And I asked they just brought in the president and somebody else, and I felt I deserve the opportunity to be elevated to the core management group, which is going to operations. I asked if I could be on the VP track. My title was like director of workers' comp. So next level is VP and then senior VP. So then I realized I made a mistake. I asked for a promotion. Chinese people are not supposed to ask for promotion within the Chinese company.
Really?
Yeah. If they want to give you a promotion, they'll come to you, and then you're supposed to say, oh, I'm not worthy. It's like you do a little Tai Chi back and forth. But because I grew up here, the things like I can see it. If some white executive come in, say, I want this, I want my title, I want the bonus, and they say, well, he knows what he wants. He's very assertive. But when a Chinese guy asking for certain things, I was deemed too greedy. So they denied me, and they kind of label me as somebody who's not appreciative, I guess.
Really?
Yeah. And I give him and this is the first time I experienced discrimination working in a Chinese company.
Wow.
Think about my experience. White fraternity, corporate, TRW, they made me, the Asian guy, the section manager. I was 28 years old. Over many of the white candidates was, academically more superior. But somehow I felt like first time I worked for a Chinese company, there's a little discrimination here.
Wow.
So they still had old world ways of management.
Yes. In many ways, they were very progressive. But because 99% of the Chinese employees, I would say they don't have my background. Growing up here, college educated, working in a big corporation. Many of them are hardworking restaurant people. They may not speak much English. They're hardworking people. They work long hours, and that's the profile. Most of them work through the system.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, Jack, we have some regular segments that we do on the show, and I sort of just let them go by because your story is fascinating, and that's actually the meat of the show and what we really want to get to. That's interesting. The discrimination from a Chinese company.
It's always Chinese could be just as discriminatory, depending on what's your background. And
Wow. So you've had success with your restaurants in Old Pasadena. You enjoy that still today?
It's been 29 years, and I started the first rock and roll kind of Panda fast food, and I added the sushi bar. Then I took over Italian restaurant, then Spanish restaurant, and the Mexican restaurant. So I'm always been known as the Asian guy who has non-Asian restaurant. And so again, I'm very proud of, I didn't just go do another Chinese restaurant. I just feel like I can do, if I see an opportunity, why can't I do it? Like P.F. Chang, it's not from a Chinese guy.
Paul
Fleming.
Yeah.
They used the Chen. Chen was the owner of the Mandarin or something in Beverly Hills. They hire him to do the consulting. They use his last name, Chen. Paul Fleming, the Ruth Chris people. So I go, if they can do Chinese food, I can do Italian food.
Do you show your face in your restaurant? Do people know you as the owner there?
Yes. In the beginning, some of the Chinese people told me, like, well, I know them from my sushi bar. And from the Italian restaurant, they go, oh, don't walk around the dining room. Don't let them know the Chinese guy owns this. I don't get it. Sometimes I'm there, I'm greeting. I think I'm one of the best hosts. When people decide to come to my place, I want to make sure the service is good, the food's good. If we scoot up on something, I treat them a dessert. I win them over. I can talk to them. I'm very engaging. So sometimes my host or my server would tell me, hey, Jack, table 16, want to say hi to you. I look over. If they're young people, I know that's easy. I can win them over right away. But if they look like they're from Kansas City, a little white and old, I go, it's going to take a little convincing. I'll go over there and say, hi, I'm Jack. How's everything? How was your meal? They look at me like a little confused, Oh, it's very good food, you know. They say, and sometimes they will tease me. They go, well, you don't look very Italian.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I'll say? They go, shh, don't say that so loud. They haven't noticed it yet. I can win them over. Then if they still want to give me a hard time, you know, then I say, listen, we invented the pasta, okay?
Oh, so you really have to pull your I guess just your ace in the hole, right?
It's what I win them over.
Yeah.
You know, that's how I lasted this long. But 28 years later, 29 years in the pandemic, I'm moving on. I'm moving on to my third act. I think I told you, right?
And what is that?
My first act is coming to the States, became more American, went to graduate high school, UCLA, Aerospace. That's my first act. Every play had 3 acts. My second act, 29 years in Old Pasadena. 3 of the very successful restaurants. At one time, we were doing like $10 million a year with about 400 full-time, part-time employee. I would be the biggest employer in Old Town Pasadena area. It's time for me to move on. I'm getting older. I can't put in the hours. So I'm combining my technology background and my restaurant, bar, club understanding. I'm coming up with some restaurant, bar solutions, software-driven, some artificial intelligence, some of the fancy words, but basically is to provide the tools with the technology for the restaurant and bar businesses. So
what's really fascinating, he showed me the beginning of a project you have, which is basically you don't want your a restaurant loses a lot of money on free drinks, right?
Correct. Yes.
And so you figured out a way to monitor that.
Well, bartenders, they give away a lot of free drinks to increase their tip income. You sit at the bar, you talk to them, you order one drink, you order a second drink. He's going to give you the third drink free. And there's an unspoken understanding. I took care of this drink. And then in return, you're going to tip additional. But from a restaurateur's point of view, we're losing revenue. And the revenue loss is it could be significant. It could be up to hundreds and a couple $100,000 a year based on the 10% losses. So I came up with a system that basically is object detection, tracking. So we're tracking all the drinks that the bartender made and served. Are
you going to call this Big Brother Bar?
No, it's really just we all have cameras. We just don't have the time to review the cameras.
Sure.
So the camera has the intelligence now. It's no different than the Ring door cam that you go there and then they can detect people are stealing your Amazon deliveries. It's all machine training.
Have you seen this thing? I mean, I don't drink, but I've seen there's this like device that goes on the bottle that'll measure the pour.
Yeah, those are the pour control. Because another abuse is they pour you expensive drink, they over pour you. So for bigger tip too, they make it stronger. There's always a way to take care of your customer and then in exchange for a bigger tip. But over the establishment's expense.
Sure.
It's giving away product you're not supposed to. But that's kind of the culture. But we're just going to automate. I think there's a huge demand in that. So that's what I've been working on.
Oh, that seems really exciting.
Yeah.
It seems like you learned how to use comedy in a way from your UCLA days to sort of diffuse certain situations.
Always.
It's really powerful. Comedy and making people laugh, and I shared with Scott, there was an actual Harvard study that people are smarter actually when they're happier, laughing, easier to make good decisions than when they're mad. So, well, Jack, we're going to move on to another part of the show where we learn a little bit more about who you are.
Jack, why don't we talk about your SGV3? We talked about your 3 favorite places here or most memorable activities you've had.
Right. I think we talked enough about the Old Town experience.
Yes. And so that's one of them. Yeah.
Number 2 is the Focus Plaza
And why is that important to you?
Well, I remember when it was built, like 20-some years ago, they were calling like a mini Vegas. It's huge. And I found myself going there for the 99 market. They have the most freshest produce and a lot of ingredients that Chinese people will want to have in their kitchen. And there are many restaurants there too, like the dim sum place.
And I heard that's being remodeled,
That's
entire
what
plaza.
I heard too. Yes,
Yeah.
I just went there a couple of weeks ago. It looks like it needs some attention.
Mm-hmm.
And partially, I guess the property owners are not renewing the lease, so it look vacant. But they need, I do understand from the property owner's point of view, they want to maximize the value, then they have to reinvest. And you will have to make some tough decisions about your existing tenant. And they're all really mom and pops with a life saving tied up there. And then if they don't have this space, they won't have any income. It's not that easy to relocate a restaurant to another location. So it's some challenging time. I feel for them.
Yeah.
I really feel for them. But at the same time, somebody invested a lot of money in this, the value in there, and then you can't just let it continue and become not as competitive. So.
And what's the third place?
Huntington Garden.
Which is very popular.
Yeah, it's a beautiful
place.
place. Yes. Huntington, if people don't know, it's Huntington Drive. Mm-hmm. It's a family Huntington. That used to be their residence.
Yeah, imagine that.
Now it's a public library.
And is there a garden there named after you?
No. There used to be the Japanese garden.
Yeah.
That my ex and the family will go there for high tea.
Oh, yeah,
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Then I think about maybe 10 years ago, they added the Chinese garden. Mm-hmm. I took my daughter there for one of the, when they first opened up the Chinese garden during the Lunar New Year time. So, but it's a beautiful ground. It's in the middle of the San Gabriel Valley. Every time there's a visitor coming in, I always refer them to, take a short drive. It's very nice. Drive down there by Caltech and the Huntington Garden, and trying to get yourself a reservation for to visit the Japanese garden or the Chinese garden.
Yeah. It's a really special and really beautiful place. I don't know if you live in the SGV and you haven't gone there, you absolutely have to go.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, Jack, I'm really glad that you were able to come on our show and share your story with us and our listeners. Can you tell our listeners again the name of your restaurants and where they can go visit them? Okay.
Right now we have 2 locations. The first one, if you're coming in from the east end into Old Town Pasadena, it's at the corner of Arroyo Parkway and Colorado. The address 119 East. We just changed from Extapa Cantina to Hawk Heaven barbecue concept. But we're still doing the nightly weekend club nights as Extapa. So that's one location. Then the second location is 46 East. That's just on the west side of Raymond. It's between Raymond and Fair Oaks on the south side of the street. We have 2 concepts going there, the Chorizo, the Italian concept, and the Barcelona, the Spanish concept. So we got lots of seats. We just reopened after we during pandemic, we all got shut down. Then that was March, and we're doing to-go. Then by July, City of Pasadena opened up the streets for us to do street dining. Then we participated. We're the first to do the street dining. We got so busy because people have been locked up for so long. So we were the busiest restaurant from July to about November, December. Then there was another surge of cases. So we got shut down again. Then we're back to-go. So that lasted through December, January 17th. We're doing to-go at the kitchen fire.
Oh, no.
So we're shut down 2 years. We just reopened. We just reopened January 18th, exactly 2 years.
Wow.
Well, I wish you and your restaurants much success and with
you.
also your future endeavor. I have
you.
actually been to every single one of your restaurants,
Oh, thank you.
including the club. This was when
Okay.
I was much younger and also single, but I have been to all of them. They're really great. And
Thank you.
I think they are iconic and really part of Old Pasadena and Pasadena as a whole. So
Thank you very
definitely
much.
go check that out.
Okay.
Jack, thank you so much. Appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you for being here.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Jack. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there you go. There's another episode in the books for you. Hope you enjoyed this time and learned something about another person here that's really impactful in the San Gabriel Valley. If you want to check out more of our episodes, don't forget to check out our website, www.sgvmasterkey.com. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you like this type of content. And until next week, we will see you then.
You've been listening to the SGV Master Key Podcast. Our passion is the small businesses and the people that make up the San Gabriel Valley, and it's our honor to have them on the show. We hope you've enjoyed it. Make sure to like, rate, and review. The show is produced by Russell Mano, edited by Victoria Allers of Kind Monster Productions. Thanks for listening, and see you next time on the SGV Master Key Podcast.
Master, no, kind of master.